Hello, everyone. Uh, we're just going to go ahead and, well, first, thank you for coming, but we're going to give it about probably about just one more minute before we get started here, just in case there's a couple people kind of straggling in. Okay, we will go ahead and get started. Oh, hey, Jackie, can you turn on my permission to share?
Yep, you're good to go now.
Cool. All right. So thank you, everyone, for taking some time out of your Thursday to come learn a little bit more about Botanic collagen peptides. So we're very excited about this ingredient, and we just couldn't wait until supply side to let people know about it. So we're having a little bit of a sneak peek. I believe my contact information is at the end, and also want to let everybody know, we would have let you know earlier, but we just figured out yesterday that that after this, you'll get a link to where you can watch the webinar on demand. So just as an FYI. All right. So
Eric, can I
VC,
interrupt you for 1 second?
yeah,
You're in the mode that shows the current slide and the next slide. Can you switch it so the screen is,
yes, I can.
thank you.
Is that correct?
Yes, perfect.
Cool. All right. VC-H1, Botanic collagen peptides. It's where beauty blooms. So today we'll go over a little bit of market research. We'll introduce the ingredient, some of the features and benefits, of course, go through the research, and then have a few kind of little topics at the end. Hopefully we'll have enough time in case there are some questions, so we can have them kind of Q&A time. So the market. So collagen just keeps growing like faster. Not only does it keep growing, it keeps growing faster every year. I thought it was going to die like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was completely wrong about that. Expected to grow over 11% year over year until 2030, which is, kind of astounding. Uh, but I think what's most important is that it also sees a lot of engagement online. So there was a 35% increase this last year in searches for collagen across all platforms, and that's of course a leading edge indicator. So it's probably going to grow again next year. Sustainability, I think we've kind of hit that point where people are really actually making purchases based on whether or not something is eco-friendly and sustainable. 65%, about 2/3 of US consumers say they seek out more environmentally friendly brands. And we're now at over half report that they're willing to pay more for those products. And then with health, people are concerned with ultra processed foods. We're seeing a shift to not full veganism and vegetarianism, but people are kind of, removing a little bit of meat from their diet. Plant-based is really what people are associating with health right now. And I just wanted to do little bit more information on collagen uh, because it just as I was looking through this, it actually it really surprised me. So this is Spain, um, from someone. I'll put it in the final draft, but they kind of look at like ingredients and their popularity is what they call it. So how people are engaging with it on TikTok, on Google, and how much people are sharing, liking, all of those things. And within the beauty from within category, collagen is the most popular and like by far, like it's not even close. I think it's almost double what the second ingredient is. And at the same time, it's also second in growth rate. So even though it's the biggest, it's also almost growing the fastest. And then within all supplements, it's the second in overall popularity behind only magnesium. Magnesium gets it every time. Uh, and but over the last year, it was first in the amount of increase in popularity. So again, we're just seeing it, kind of take off and continue to get bigger and bigger. So kind of wanted to point out the difference between vegan and plant-based, or vegetarian and plant-based. Uh, I think sometimes we kind of conflate if it's not animal source, so it's plant-based. But we have a lot of fermented, lab cultivated alternatives out there, and even though these are vegan, it's not really vegan necessarily that people associate with health. It really is plant-based foods. So you can see this right here. Why would somebody choose that or experiment with it? 46 to 20% because they see it as healthier. And then kind of one trend I wanted to point out are peptides. And of course, this trend goes well beyond our industry with GLP-1 and, new kind of designer peptides. But that's definitely spilling over into our industry as well. So this is from a Vitamin Shop, and, on a survey that they conducted, 41% said that they are somewhat or a lot more aware of peptides than they were 5 years ago. But I think more impressively is over the last year, 550% increase in searches for the term peptides. So, that's something that is definitely people are looking for, and people really associate it with efficacy. Like it's good, it's powerful, because we hear the stories of these kind of designer drugs or GLP-1 agonists and the kind of huge impact that they have. And so, of course, this plays into collagen peptides. Uh, for formats, I kind of threw this up here, but I'll say it's accurate, but it's probably not precise. It's really it's really hard to get a lot of this data, and there's a lot of conflicting data online. But I think overall powders still carry the market share. They carry more than any other format, but maybe not for long. So capsules are actually growing. Capsules are actually innovative in collagen because of the normally the dose size. But gummies are really uh, probably going to they're expected to take the top spot in 2026 by some accounts. So they already carry a large share of the market as far as collagen goes, and they're expected to grow very fast over the next 5-6 years. Kind of second to that is beverages. So they don't carry a lot of the market share right now, but they are growing even a little bit faster. So they're kind of, maybe one of the new hot platforms. And then there's like 8% of, various, random platforms out there, which I didn't even attempt to find a growth rate for them. But one of the reasons why I wanted to point this out is, except for the powders, as we'll see, VC-H1 really has a lot of advantages to, the other four sets. And then overall, I would probably recommend kind of staying in that middle area there. I mean, maybe if you have a cool new delivery format, then more power to you. Like I say, go for it. But yeah, it's going to be it already is very difficult to compete in that powder business because there's just such huge players and so many players in that. So introducing VC-H1, the world's first botanic collagen peptide. So what it is it's hydrolyzed peptides of a collagen-like protein sourced from organically grown hibiscus. So it's good at stimulating collagen synthesis. It has very high antioxidant content. It is clinically verified, and also very maybe best of all, it's clean label and its organoleptics are excellent. Uh, but I kind of have been hesitant to use, unless I have to, the collagen alternative or collagen booster term, because I see this as not just an alternative, like you it's like we take the dance, if you get stood up by collagen. I don't see it like that. I see it as actually a sneaky kind of better collagen. It would be kind of like the hot girl who like takes off her glasses and everybody's like, oh my gosh. Uh, but it's 1.5 gram efficacious dose, so it's open up to a lot of platforms. It is clinically studied at that dose. So it has a very small molecular weight of just 360 Daltons on average. And kind of key, as we'll see here in a little bit, 90% of the protein in it is in the di and tripeptide form. So it's already basically ready to go and be bioactive. But I did want to kind of take a step back and just kind of go talk about collagen real quick. I bet everybody on here probably already knows this, so I'll try to go quickly through it. But collagen, it's a triple helix, so three long oligopeptides that kind of come together to form that helix structure. And the reason it's a helix is because every third amino acid is a glycine. And then there's a lot of proline and hydroxyproline in between those. And that's kind of what gives it its structure. Well, that's a lot of glycine and a lot of proline. And hydroxyproline isn't one of the, like, it isn't one of the basic building block amino acids. And so it's a little bit more rare and is really, mostly found in collagen. And so what that means is if some pieces break off, those pieces are pretty easily identifiable as collagen. And that's important because of this. So we've got your skin, your extracellular matrix, the little round things are hyaluronic acid. You've got your fibroblasts, elastin, collagen, all doing good. So because collagen is, well, it's the most abundant protein in your body, like by a long shot. But also it's in all of the places that get hit and bumped and bruised and scraped and squeezed and everything else. And so your body has a good system for, hey, if you break down some collagen, if you damage some, we can come in, kind of get it cleaned up. But then we want to, it happens a lot. So we need to be able to kind of quickly, restore what was degraded. And so what happens is if you get hit, some inflammation happens and your immune system comes in. Well, little pieces of collagen, those little peptides, break off and kind of float around. And that's why it was important that those peptides are very much linked to, like, you can identify them as, collagen. Because what happens is our fibroblasts have these ligands on them, and they, of course, fit these little peptides. So here's some of this is not an exhaustive list, but the kind of glycine, proline, hydroxyproline ones that we know of that are bioactive are down there. And what ends up happening is, they hit that, and then three things kind of happen after that. First, cell proliferation. So some fibroblasts probably got caught up in the melee. Let's replace them because they do our building for us. Can't just rely on one poor guy. So cell proliferation, and then building that extra cellular matrix, the collagen, the elastin, the hyaluronic acid, those all get turned on to build and replace what was damaged. And then, kind of thirdly, it also down regulates the degradation of ECMs. So, you don't want to be building something up and then behind your back, it's being broke down. So they kind of down regulates that. So when supplementing with collagen, it's not like supplementing with collagen isn't where you eat some collagen and then it just, it kind of stuffs into your skin like a Build-A-Bear at the mall. You know, I think people kind of visualize it that way, but it's actually kind of nowhere near that. To build the collagen, you know, there's the amino acids in the collagen have just the same amount of chance of ending up in collagen as any other amino acid eaten around the same time. Uh, so your body doesn't really distinguish between them like that. But what they do is when you eat them, depending on the collagen, how your stomach breaks it down, all of that, uh, you could potentially have some of those exogenous peptides. So some of those exact same peptides as when collagen breaks down, but now they're coming from the outside. And so what happens is when we eat them, they also stick to the ligands, and we have the cell proliferation, ECM building and stopping of the degrading. But now we haven't damaged anything. We have no damage. So we're just building on top of already, good matrix. So we kind of hijack the body's repair system and trick it into giving us more beautiful skin. So that kind of builds that up. Then it's full, it's good to go, and so that's how collagen is effective. At least for skin. I mean, type 2 collagen works on a completely different thing, uh, but I wanted to point that out because what this means is the what's important, like what is actually important for efficacy, is these bioactive peptides. Like you have to like if you don't have those, then maybe you'll have some efficacy from having some extra protein or something. But really, if you want to build more beautiful skin, you need these peptides. And so looking at the kind of vegan alternatives that are out on the market now, um, now kind of looking at them through this lens of the peptides, collagen boosters, which are typically some plant extracts, and then just single amino acids matched to collagen. But those are single amino acids, they're not peptides. And so they'll provide some protein, but they don't stimulate growth in the same way. Fermented collagen, can be considered collagen, I guess, but a couple of issues, at least right now, it is very expensive. That is definitely the huge hang up at this juncture. I mean, I think I priced that, it was more than 25 cents per dose. But it's also kind of just complicated. Like really what you're going after are these peptides. So put a gene in a yeast to build this protein just so you can break it down to little bits and pieces of twos and threes. Um, and then also at the end of the day, like I mentioned before, it's not plant-based. It is vegan, but it's not plant-based. And what people really associate with health is coming from plants. The last group is, there are other hydrolyzed peptides from various plants, some broccoli, carrot, rice. You know, Going through and kind of like looking at them, some of them say like, hey, we're 97% like collagen, but what's missing is hydroxyproline, which is kind of super critical for efficacy. And then some of them just kind of it's hard to tell who's making it or who's actually selling it. And it's just a little opaque. So, I'm kind of, withholding judgment at this time because I kind of don't know quite enough. But VC-H1 is natural, botanical, bioactive peptides, and it's just kind of in a class of its own. So how do we get these botanical peptides from hibiscus, of all things? Um, well, what they did is they found that there's a glycoprotein called extensin that's in the cell wall of hibiscus, I think in some other plants too. And what they do, it already does have hydroxyproline, which is one benefit of it. It's already pretty high in like glycine and proline, so it's a good kind of starting material. So they take that and they hydrolyze it, but it is a glycoprotein, and so there are sugars connected to the proteins, which you don't really want. So they also put it through a fermentation process that converts some of those sugars into proteins, but it also it cleaves them off, so that way they're not connected together anymore. And what you get is a finished material that's high in glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. So the mechanisms, I mean, we kind of went over this a little bit, but this is even from the research. So they boost collagen synthesis, VC-H1 does, uh, by upregulating TGF beta, and some of the kind of downstream effects of that are increase in hyaluronic acid synthase, and I forget what COL1A is, and then FGFR is like fibroblast growth factor. So basically for that cell proliferation. Also slow the degradation through MAPK, which then affects the MMPs. And one of the nice things, it comes from hibiscus. Well, hibiscus already has natural like antioxidant polyphenols, and those aren't all just like stripped away. So it still has kind of innate natural antioxidant and anti-inflammatory capacity. So this is the lab report from uh, the kind of like the most recent analysis on the product. Found that the molecular weight was 316 Daltons, and the tripeptides were just under 60, and the dipeptides were just under 30, giving you 89.3. I rounded up to 90%. And I feel like I rounded up to 90 or 89.5, and then from there it was pretty easy to round up to 90. So the research, uh, there's been 3 studies conducted. The last 2 are published. So there was a preclinical in vitro. This is really looking at collagen synthesis. A preclinical in vivo with on animals, and then a human clinical study, of course. Also, have been going through the safety study. So has the oral subchronic toxicity, aims, mutagenicity, but that kind of first in vitro study. So what this study looked at was, the ability of different collagens essentially to stimulate collagen growth, to stimulate synthesis. And what they found was that VC-H1, compared to 4 different types of animal-based collagens, was able to stimulate for about 70 to 4 times better, or stimulate more, uh, 70 to 400% more collagen than these various other animal sources. And that was at 40% of the concentration. So that was at 0.1 of VC-H1 and 0.25 of the animal sources. So the preclinical, this was a mouse study looking at UVB exposure, pretty kind of standard test or standard research study. The groups had a sham with had no UV light and no treatment, and then a control, which was UV light, no treatment. They also, in this one, they compared it to hydrolyzed fish collagen, and then your VC-H1. They had a low and a high dose. The high dose was better, it's dose dependent, so I just included that to save space. So what they looked at, one of the kind of primary endpoints were mRNA expression. So are you actually turning on these genes? And what they found was very much upregulated that collagen synthase, the fibroblast growth factor, and then the two hyaluronic acid synthases. And then downregulated MMP1 and MMP2. Those I might have those numbers wrong, maybe like 3 or 9 or something. But so I may have missed that. But yes, highly significant 0.001 on the upregulation, 0.01 on the downregulation. They also looked at some physical parameters, so tool, transepidermal water loss, roughness, wrinkle depth, and found that it was good for skin that's smooth skin, reduced wrinkles, and improved tool. So that's really around like barrier function and water loss. It also, through histological evaluation, it upregulated. It actually grew more collagen fiber, but the epidermis was not, it didn't thicken the way that UV light typically does. And so, really showing that one, that's good for barrier function, but two, just kind of good at keeping the skin cells kind of cleaned out and not built up with the epidermis. So their conclusions is that it's protective against UVB-induced photoaging by promoting hyaluronic acid and collagen synthesis. It also kind of contributes to the maintenance of skin structure and the regulation of moisture retention. So this is that like epidermis. And then the human clinical study. So it was the kind of the gold standard, double-blind, randomized human control trial. It was 100 participants, so 50 in the placebo, 50 in the VC-H1 group, males, females, 35 to 60 with visible wrinkles. Looked at baseline, 6 weeks and 12 weeks, so pretty standard. And the dose was, of course, just 1.5 grams per day. So the results for the hydration and the barrier function. So looked at hydration, which is a little more kind of, goes whichever way the wind goes. It's pretty easy just to dry your skin out as, measured by kind of this method. But moisture, which is the third one here, that's really looking at the deeper moisture content and saw significant improvements there as well. So that's kind of showing that the underlying health of the skin is better, probably more hyaluronic acid because that's kind of your moisture molecule. And then also decreased water loss and decreased, keratin buildup. So worked with like desquamation, helping kind of regulate the turnover of your skin cells and improve your barrier function. The tool is definitely about barrier function. So here, this is straight from the study. As you can see on the top, wrinkles on the left, not really many wrinkles on the right. So that's what you're looking for. And then the last kind of group of results, so improved elasticity, roughness, and then of course decreased wrinkles, the paraorbital, like we just saw. And one of the things I wanted to point out is up until this point, all of the measures have been just objective measures, been through instrumentation. So I think that is, it's good. It's you have to include that, especially with something like this. But it is also good to get some feedback. I kind of wish that they would have got feedback from the participants themselves, but they did do an expert evaluation and saw that compared to placebo, there was a significant improvement to just kind of the skin health and appearance. And I think especially for skin, that's important because you want people to notice that your skin got better. Like if I'm taking a joint supplement, I don't really care if somebody notices that my knee doesn't hurt. But if I take, some collagen, I want people to notice that like my skin's glowing. So the conclusions here, improve skin hydration and also that deep moisture, probably through water binding to a higher hyaluronic acid content, reduces tool for better barrier function, and keratin for better cell turnover, barrier function, and desquamation. It improved elasticity, texture, wrinkles. So we're kind of seeing a robust and pretty broad um, improvement of the health of the skin. And then, of course, those benefits could be seen by the expert evaluator. So the fun part, regulations, labels, certifications, all of that. So the NDI has been submitted. That was, I think, last month. They're expecting that Q4 of this year. They're also going to be doing self-affirmed GRAS, going to try to sneak it in before they get rid of it, and expect that to be done. I think they pretty much have their dossier done, and I believe they even have their panel chosen. So, I mean, it could even be 2025, but they're saying Q1 of 2026. With non-GMO. So it's going through the project non-GMO verification process right now, but even without that, it is already, through Korea, organization in Korea certified as non-GMO. And also working on getting it certified organic. So all of the hibiscus that is used to make VC-H1 comes from the organic farm that the manufacturer built in Laos, just to supply for this ingredient. So all of the starting raw material is organic. It's grown sustainably. Um, I honestly I think that it's a very good sustainability story because usually if something is, they say that it's sustainable, it's touched 45 different hands and it's been in 15 different countries. You kind of don't know where it was. It's mostly paperwork. But with VCH1, I mean, except for the handoff that we'll do like over here, besides that, it will only have been in the hands of one company. So they take it all the way from soil to packaging. For labeling, so we're still trying to determine the exact wording that will need to go in like the facts panel, whether that's a food or supplement. Right now it's looking like it'll probably be like plant-based collagen alternative or hydrolyzed vegetable / plant protein. And but kind of marketing and on the front label. So have definitely had some people ask me like, well, can you use the word collagen? Can you call it Botanic collagen? And from the lawsuits that have gone on so far, so this hasn't happened in our industry yet, but in the cosmetic industry, people have, of course, lawyers want to get together and love class action lawsuits. And so far, they have the courts have basically said it's not misleading the consumer if you say that it's like plant collagen. Um, they have said that if you're going to make a comparison, that you need to have the research to back that up. And then L'Oreal, I think, is in trouble because they just called it collagen. They didn't really qualify it at all. And so you also have to qualify it. So from what the way that the courts have ruled on it so far, I think it looks like as long as it is properly qualified and any claims that you make can be substantiated, you are good to go. So um, other certifications, kosher, halal, all the manufacturing ISO. It is also vegan certified. So if the actual vegan certification is important, we do have that. And then, kind of before we end here, I wanted to just take a second and talk about the opportunities that this ingredient gives you as far as formulation goes. I mean, typically, you're looking at what, 6 to 15 grams of powder if you're working with collagen. There, of course, are some collagen peptides that are, that are smaller, and uh, this would be more similar to those. But even 1.5 grams is definitely on the low side. But at the same time, not only is it 1.5 grams, so you can feasibly put it into gummies, but it's also water soluble, and it has a neutral taste, that no problem flavoring at all, and it's odorless, and it's also just very stable. So it's stable both in water and in powder. So that really opens up everything from beverages. Uh, these are three products that have VC-H1 that are on the market right now. So there's a vegan collagen biotin liquid. So it's actually a liquid stick pack, which kind of confused me at first. And they're kind of easy to spill because you're not really used to it. But yeah, it's like a drink in a stick pack. There's of course some gummies out there, and then a jelly stick. So I've tried these for the first time recently, and it's like jelly but in a stick. It's actually delicious. Uh, but I think there's 3 products out right now, uh, and they're 3 very different products that we really don't even use that much, here in the U.S. And so I think that just goes to show that you know th- this really does open the door to a lot of opportunity. I mean, being able to you know have your choice of what platform you want to use to enter or maybe build out in one of the biggest markets, being the collagen market, is I think that's a big opportunity. So just a quick review: consumers are engaged with collagen, and that's really driving growth, which is still growing faster. Consumer demand for, as is also as collagen's getting bigger, people start getting a little bit more choosy. And so what they're really demanding now are, plant-based, green and sustainable. They want convenience, so different platforms. And of course, just across our whole industry, having that science substantiation is being demanded as well. On the science side here, so the key to efficacy are the peptides. They stimulate the ECM growth and can replace or bank collagen. Apparently, banking collagen is now a something that people strive to do. So basically, they're like, just like put it in your savings account of your like collagen savings account for when you're older, if you can grow it now. I How true that is, I don't know, but people, people like doing it. So VCH1, 100% plant-based. It's sustainably farmed, and on an organic farm. It's 90% of its peptides are in the di and tri form with high levels of glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline. It's backed by strong research with objective measures, and it has that low dose, which also calculates to actually very good and very affordable cost per dose, like equivalent to regular collagen. It's also soluble and stable and has excellent organoleptics. So it's just kind of a quick review before we head out. Um, thank you. Uh, we have some time for Q&A. Let me kind of back out of here. And okay, all right. So it looks like we do have a couple of questions. Did you compare VCH1 to animal collagen in the clinical study? Did not in the human clinical I think maybe cost was an issue, but in both of the preclinicals, it was there was a comparison there. So in the in vitro, they compared it with 4 different collagens, and then in the in vivo, they used the fish collagen. Uh, so yes, the it is true that plants don't make collagen, uh, but uh, plants also don't make milk. And we have lots and lots of, I mean, milk from all sorts of plants is out there. And and even in the courts, it's looking like how that's kind of going to go is, they're starting to compare it to like almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, where only mammals make milk, but it actually adds clarification for the consumer, so that way they know what you're talking about. I see it as more informative than anything else. Like we're doing the same thing as collagen does, it's the same peptides, and so it's easy shorthand to actually help the consumer be more informed. Does it have any allergens? No, does not have any allergens. I don't think. I mean, they seem to add new things to it, but it's just hibiscus. Like that's the only thing in it. Nothing else is added. It does go through the fermentation, but a short fermentation, and only there's nothing added to the fermentation. Only the hibiscus. Do we have a process flow chart? Yes. Do you have a process flow chart? And I think, oh, I took it down. My email, uh, I'm sure you can find me. It wouldn't be that hard. Um, so we know all collagen peptides are not the same. Uh, did we compare? So we have not compared it yet to another collagen, not in humans. We did in the preclinical, in the preclinicals, but yeah, not in the first study. So as far as the research goes, there's going to be, I think the next one that will be coming out will actually be a cosmetic or topical study. That's underway right now. And then, kind of already talking about past that. So don't know for sure when the next study will be out, but from what it seems like, comparing to some like standardized animal-based collagen would be kind of at the top of people's lists for wants. So I will definitely note that. Uh, so the total protein in VC-H1 is uh, it varies a little bit because the fermentation process, but around 50%. I think that's what the like the nutrition facts say. So it is. So I'm saying 90% peptides. I'm trying to also. It's 90% of the protein in it are in that form, um, and it's about 50% protein overall. I do like making hibiscus the star. I think that's a good idea. Let me see. Dimers and trimers. Uh, Manufacturing aids, no. No manufacturing aids except for the enzymes for the hydrolysis and the microbes for that kind of short fermentation process. You will not need a bioengineered label for products that do this or that use VC-H1. Uh, and yes, the recommended dose for VC-H1 is the recommended minimum dose is 1.5 or 1.5 grams per day, or 1,500 milligrams. I tried that for a little bit, but it looked bigger, you know, um, and so I think 1.5 grams seems smaller. Uh, the doses. So the it was just one human clinical study, and in that study, the dose was 1.5 grams. Um, for the preclinical, um, the dosing is done in a different way. So yes, I will definitely be sending out the slides. And like I said at the beginning, you should be getting an email that will also just have this, on demand. So, if you want to go back and hear, something that I discussed, because of course, I discussed more than it's on the slides, but also we'll be sending out some slides as well. Will you have examples of the gummies at Supply Side West? We will not. We will have the liquid uh, the liquid stick packs, which I thought would be a good idea for supply side because people are like on the go. We also have some of the powder stick packs, but I thought that would maybe take too long. You're like, where's a cup for water? And so we have those, and then we will also have a sample of the jelly. And it's not really gummies, but I think it will help you at least get a good idea of the flavor profile. Um, So Costco sells hibiscus flower. What percentage of the peptide can be obtained when consume the flower? That is an interesting question because this is processed a little bit with the hydrolysis and the fermentation, and then also, it's a very big protein. Uh, when you eat very large proteins, sometimes they will break down into those 2 and 3 peptides and make it into your bloodstream. Particular ones are better at it. So trying to say like how much of the specific peptides actually will go into your bloodstream is it's very difficult to say. Cool. Uh, awesome. Thank you guys very much for joining and for engaging. I appreciate that. Again, um, withy, it's the letter E, the word with, and then 2 more E's at Freeman Nutra is my email if anybody has any additional questions. And then also we'll be sending out the slides and some links, so should be able to have some contact info there if you don't already have my email. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone. Oh, nice. We're even 12 minutes early. Have an excellent rest of your day, and I'll see you all soon.